Rain drummed gently on the glass walls of the high-rise at dawn, washing the city in silver and blue streaks. The building shone like a prism against the stormy sky, its upper floors veiled in mist. Inside, fluorescent lights flickered to life one by one, illuminating polished floors and marble walls. Overnight cleaning crews moved like ghosts, their reflections dancing across the shiny surfaces. On the top floor, a man in a pressed janitor's uniform wheeled a cart piled with mops, cloths, and bottles of sanitizer down a silent corridor. His back was straight, his steps measured. He paused at a floor-to-ceiling window to glance at his reflection, making sure his disguise held. The name tag on his chest read, Whitaker. He was actually Henry Lawson, the multimillionaire founder of Lawson Dynamics. As he pushed open the door to the executive boardroom, the hum of voices swelled. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with expensive cologne. Laughter erupted from a group of executives lounging in ergonomic chairs around a dark wood table. "Ah, here comes Mr. Mop," someone called loudly. A few chuckled. One man exaggeratedly lifted his feet onto the chair to avoid them getting dirty. "Watch out, you might scratch my lubes," joked a woman in a designer suit, tapping her red-soled heels together. Henry smiled politely, his eyes sweeping across the room. He recognized them all. Charlotte, the ambitious marketing director who had pitched a controversial campaign last week. Marcus, the CFO known for his ruthless efficiency. Ty, the newly hired social media strategist who spent more time curating his influencer feed than analyzing metrics, and others whose names he remembered from employee files. Each glance took only a second, but Henry's mind stored every reaction. When he lifted the heavy 5-gallon water jug onto the dispenser, a muscle twinged in his back, a reminder that his body was not used to manual labor anymore. "Need help with that?" asked no one. Instead, the conversation flowed around him like he was invisible. Henry tried to ignore the comments, "Who let the help on this floor? Maybe we should install a back entrance for them." His jaw clenched. Memories flashed of his early days scrubbing floors in his parents' small grocery store, where customers often mistook him for a stock boy. Even then, he had vowed to treat everyone equally. A poster on the boardroom wall caught his eye. Company values: integrity, respect, innovation. He resisted the urge to rip it down. Finishing his task, he turned to leave when a new voice cut through the room. "Excuse me?" a young woman said gently. Emily Chen, a mid-level software engineer, stood at the door holding 2 paper cups. "I think these are yours," she said, handing them to 2 distracted executives. The men barely looked at her. Emily's gaze met Henry's, and she gave him a small, encouraging smile. For a moment, Henry felt less alone. "Thanks," he whispered. "No problem," she whispered back. Under the fluorescent lights, her kindness glowed. Henry pushed his cart into the hallway. As he waited for the elevator, he overheard 2 interns discussing weekend plans at a rooftop bar. "We have VIP passes thanks to Ty," one bragged. Another intern, Peter, tapped away on his phone, his attention fixed on a group chat. The elevator dinged, and the group surged forward without acknowledging Henry. He stepped aside, but Emily held the door open. "After you," she said. Henry nodded in thanks and stepped into the elevator car. As the doors closed and the numbers lit up, he mentally counted down to the moment that would change everything. Outside, lightning forked across the sky, tracing jagged veins of light. Inside, the tension crackled just as palpably. If you're feeling that pressure cooker of awkwardness and can't wait to see where this goes, make sure to subscribe now. Trust me, the payoff will be worth it. The scene rewound to the day before, revealing what had led Henry to this moment. Lawson Dynamics headquarters sat in the center of the city like a crown jewel, open floor plans, nap pods, a rooftop garden. Yet, in a closed-door meeting, HR Director Sophia slid a report across the table to Henry. "We've had an uptick in complaints," she said. Anonymous surveys from support staff mentioned being belittled and ignored. Some reported slurs. Henry's fingers drummed on the mahogany table. "Any names?" "They're anonymous, but we cross-reference timestamps. The incidents correlate with high-stress product sprints. Employees often lash out when under pressure." Henry leaned back and recalled his own first job cleaning offices to pay for college. The CFO at that company had once told him to empty trash bins faster or risk being replaced by a machine. Henry had told himself if he ever became a boss, he'd treat janitors and CEOs the same, yet his own company was failing that promise. That evening, Henry called his eldest daughter, Grace, a social worker. "What's the most important trait in a leader?" he asked. "Listening," she replied without hesitation. "And walking your talk." Henry stared at the company plaque on his wall that read, "Leaders eat last." The next morning, he decided to do more than send an email about respect. He designed an undercover operation inspired by television reality shows he'd watched with his teenage son. A CEO goes incognito. The difference: no camera crew, no editing. Only Henry, his assistant Mia, and head of security Jorge would know. In his penthouse closet, Henry replaced his bespoke suit with navy coveralls. He practiced walking with a slight shuffle to seem unassuming. Mia met him at the employee entrance at 5 a.m. with a mop bucket, cleaning schedule, and fake ID. "Here's your shift, Mr. Whitaker," she said with a grin. "Your supervisor thinks you're filling in for Mr. Gonzalez, who's sick. You're expected to cover floors 20 through 30. Henry's heart pounded with excitement and nervousness. He hadn't felt this alive in years. He used to tour factory floors regularly, shaking hands with line workers, but as the company grew, layers of management had insulated him. Now, he would step back into the trenches. "Remind me to send Mr. Gonzalez flowers," he joked, and Mia laughed nervously. "Please be careful. People can be cruel." "That's the point," he replied. Throughout the morning, Henry cleaned restrooms, refilled coffee machines, emptied waste bins, and wiped down conference tables. He overheard whispers. "The board is considering outsourcing janitorial services to cut costs," whispered one manager. "Good. Maybe we'll get real cleaners instead of these temp workers," another responded. Henry's knuckles whitened on the mop handle. In the cafeteria, he sat alone on a stool, eating a sandwich he'd packed. He watched as two engineers argued about a glitch in the new software update. Their voices rose, and one of them hurled an insult at a cafeteria worker who accidentally spilled a drink. No one intervened. Henry noticed Emily again. She crossed the room and helped the worker wipe up the spill, offering words of comfort. He smiled to himself. Later, he visited the maintenance supply room where head custodian Martha, a robust woman in her 50s, logged cleaning schedules. "You're the new guy?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Name's Whitaker," Henry said. "Call me Henry." She shrugged. "We don't get paid to remember names. Just do your job, keep your head down, and watch out for the finance boys. They like to leave banana peels on the floor and laugh when we slip." Henry grimaced. "They do?" She nodded. "Happened to Mr. Gonzalez last week. Hurt his back." Henry filed that information away. "Thanks for the warning." As noon approached, clouds darkened, heavy with rain. The weather app on Henry's phone buzzed with a severe thunderstorm alert. He glanced at the building's backup generator installation outside, equipment he'd insisted on after an earthquake years ago. He trusted it, but he also knew budgets had been tight and some executives had cut corners. He wondered if they had skimped on maintenance. At 1 p.m., Henry's phone buzzed with a message from Mia. "Everything in place. Be careful." He pocketed his phone, ready to finish his route. Meanwhile, employees filed into elevators for late afternoon meetings, some complaining about having to share a space with cleaning equipment. Emily, clutching a stack of project folders, stepped into the elevator car with Henry and Peter, the intern whose eyes rarely left his phone. 3 other employees joined: Lisa, the project manager with claustrophobia, Jamal, a quiet developer, and Carla, an HR associate. The doors closed. The car shuddered as it began to ascend. The air felt heavy. In the distance, thunder cracked. Henry instinctively checked the overhead panel out of habit. Red lights glowed faintly. Everything seemed fine until the building jerked violently. Have you ever wondered what happens when the person you dismiss controls your fate? Stay tuned, drop a like if you're intrigued, and share this with someone who needs reminding that respect matters. The elevator lurched to a stop. Darkness swallowed the occupants. For a heartbeat, there was only the sound of breathing and the distant rumble of thunder. Then the emergency lights flickered on, bathing everyone in a dim orange glow. Lisa whimpered, "Oh my God! Oh my God!" Carla fumbled for the emergency phone. Static hissed. She pressed the red alarm button. Nothing. The intercom remained silent. Outside the shaft, cables groaned. The elevator shivered. Peter banged on the doors. "Hey, we're trapped!" he shouted, his voice cracking. Jamal removed his earbuds. "Did we just get hit by lightning?" he murmured more to himself. Henry pressed his ear to the metal wall, listening. He could hear the whir of the safety brakes struggling to engage. He turned to the group. "Everyone, sit down," he commanded. His tone held authority. Emily complied, guiding Lisa to sit against the wall and teaching her a breathing technique. "In through your nose for 4 counts, out through your mouth for 6, Emily coached. Peter rolled his eyes. "Seriously? We need to get out of here. Hello?" He slapped the metallic door. "Stop that," Henry said, grabbing his hand. Peter jerked back. "Don't touch me," he hissed. "Who do you think you are?" Henry looked him dead in the eye. "Someone who knows more about this building than you might think." Henry reached into his janitor's cart and retrieved a small flashlight and a multi-tool. In his head, he replayed the elevator system's schematic. The emergency brake lever was hidden behind a panel. If the brake engaged fully, it would send a signal to the central control. But if the release mechanism jammed, the car could plummet. He had designed redundancies, but he hadn't anticipated sabotage by budget cuts. He pried open the plastic cover with the multi-tool. Wires gleamed. The lever was stuck. He tugged. It wouldn't budge. Meanwhile, Lisa's breathing grew shallow. Carla whispered prayers. Jamal's hands shook as he gripped the handrail. Peter paced, bumping Henry's elbow. "Let me by," he said. "What, do you think you're going to save us? You clean toilets." Henry kept his voice steady. "No, I built the toilets," Peter scoffed. "What?" Henry ignored him and continued to examine the mechanism. The lever had corroded from lack of maintenance. He cursed under his breath. "Of course." Emily leaned closer. "What can I do?" Henry looked at her with gratitude. "Hold your phone here so I can see better." She did. Peter groaned. "This is ridiculous." "Peter," Carla snapped. "Stop and listen." Peter glared but fell silent. Henry instructed everyone to redistribute their weight evenly. "If the brake fails, we need to keep the car as stable as possible." He glanced up at the panel displaying floor numbers. It blinked. He tugged again at the lever. It moved a millimeter. Sweat trickled down his temple. Memories flooded him. His father teaching him how to fix their old truck with nothing but a wrench and determination. That same grit fueled him now. Lisa suddenly began sobbing. "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." Emily squeezed her hand. "You're okay. Look at me. Listen to my voice." Henry needed to both calm the group and focus on the lever. He took a deep breath. "I served 10 years on a volunteer fire brigade," he said, voice firm but gentle. "We often responded to elevator entrapments. Panic kills faster than falling. Trust me, I'm going to get us out, but I need your help." His confession stunned everyone into silence. Peter's eyes narrowed. Fire brigade? Yeah, right. Believe me or not, Henry said, but help me hold this. Henry's arms trembled as he pulled again. Emily placed her hands over his, adding strength. He felt the lever give another fraction. On 3, he instructed. 1, 2, 3. They heaved. A loud crack echoed. The lever shifted fully. Alarms blared outside the shaft. A jolt traveled through the car. It dropped an inch, then stopped. Henry's heart pounded. He held the lever in place with both hands, muscles burning. Seconds ticked by like hours. Then, faintly, came the sound of footsteps and voices. Someone banged on the door. "Maintenance team, hold on!" Henry exhaled shakily. "We've engaged the manual brake," he shouted. "We need a spreader." The group waited, breathing in unison. Peter kneeled beside Henry, finally understanding the gravity of the situation. "I'm sorry," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "I shouldn't have." Henry cut him off gently. "Focus. We'll talk later." The doors creaked open an inch as firefighters inserted a hydraulic tool and slowly forced them wider. A shaft of bright light streamed in, painting the group in gold. Strong hands reached down. One by one, the occupants climbed out onto a metal platform between floors. Henry was last. His fingers, numb from gripping the lever, slipped. He nearly fell, but Peter grabbed his arm. "I've got you," Peter said. Henry looked up at him, a silent understanding passing between them. Together, they emerged into the cool air of the service level. Emergency crews guided them down the stairwell to the lobby. As they descended, Henry's legs quivered. He hadn't realized how much energy he'd expended. On the landing, they paused to let a maintenance worker pass carrying a broken circuit board. Henry's eyes caught the burned wiring. "That's our backup system," he murmured. "That panel should have been replaced last quarter." The worker shrugged. "Budget cuts," he said. Henry seethed quietly. He thought of the banana peel story and Mr. Gonzalez's injury. How many corners had they cut in the name of profit? When the group reached the lobby, employees crowded around, murmuring. Someone pulled out a phone and began recording. Henry's assistant Mia rushed forward, eyes wide. "Mr. Lawson, Whitaker, are you hurt?" she blurted, then corrected herself. Henry shook his head, breathing hard. "I'm fine." He noticed Peter standing awkwardly at the side, avoiding eye contact. Emily hovered nearby, worry etched on her face. Lisa held a cold compress to her forehead. Carla crossed herself, whispering a prayer of thanks. Jamal typed furiously on his phone, possibly recounting the ordeal in a group chat. The air buzzed with speculation. The storm outside had passed, leaving clear blue skies streaked with sunlight. Henry removed his cap and wiped his brow, sweat mixed with grime. Eyes turned toward him. If your heart's racing and you're amazed at how fast things can change, be sure to subscribe and join us for more stories that flip expectations on their head. Mia whispered to Henry, "Now?" He nodded subtly. She cleared her throat and spoke loudly enough for the crowd to hear. "Mr. Lawson," she said, addressing the janitor, "security wants to debrief you." People gasped. "Mr. Lawson?" Whispers rippled through the lobby. Henry straightened his shoulders, his entire demeanor shifting from humble janitor to commanding executive. Slowly, deliberately, he pulled off his cap and removed the wig he'd worn under it. As he wiped the grease paint from his face with a cloth, familiar features emerged. Murmurs escalated. "That's him. It's the CEO. No way." Phones rose like a forest of antennas, capturing the reveal. Peter's jaw dropped. He looked like he might be sick. Emily covered her mouth with her hand. Henry looked around, taking in the shock, the embarrassment, the curiosity. "Yes," he said, his voice resonant. "It's me, Henry Lawson. I just risked my life alongside some of you, disguised as a janitor. Why? Because I wanted to see how you treat people when you think no one is watching." He gestured to the janitor's cart behind him. "I scrubbed your floors. I took out your trash. I listened to your conversations. I felt invisible. I was mocked, ignored, and dismissed. Not by everyone," he looked at Emily, "but by far too many." He paused, letting his words settle like dust motes in sunlight. "When I founded Lawson Dynamics, I promised myself we'd build a company where respect was non-negotiable, where innovation and integrity went hand in hand. Somewhere along the way, some of us have lost sight of that promise." He turned his gaze to Peter. "This young man insulted me, pushed past me, and belittled me. But in the elevator, when his life depended on someone he thought was beneath him, he listened, he learned, and he saved me when I almost fell. That's growth." Henry's voice softened. "Peter, you have potential, but you need to cultivate humility. You'll receive a performance improvement plan focusing on empathy and leadership." Peter's eyes brimmed with tears. I don't deserve a second chance," he stammered. Henry shook his head. "Maybe not, but you need one. Take it." Henry then beckoned Emily forward. This woman recognized humanity where others saw a uniform. She held a door. She held my hand while saving everyone. "Emily, you exemplify the values we preach. Effective immediately, you are promoted to Senior Project Manager with a mandate to oversee our new community outreach program." Gasps of surprise turned into cheers. Emily's eyes widened. "Thank you, Mr. Lawson," she said, voice shaking. "I won't let you down." Henry wasn't done. He addressed the wider crowd. "I've heard whispers about budget cuts jeopardizing safety. I saw the backup generator fail because we deferred maintenance. That stops today. Effective immediately, there will be no more cuts to infrastructure or staff training. We're investing in people and systems because lives literally depend on them." He raised his voice. "And we're launching a company-wide initiative called Walk a Mile, where each executive will spend a day each quarter working alongside different teams, janitors, cafeteria workers, customer service reps, you name it. You will see through their eyes and feel what they feel." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some looked nervous, others nodded eagerly. "Empathy and safety are our North Star," he said. A new chapter began. End.